Welcome back to your favorite podcast on the internet. Charlie's trying to trip me up right now in Soccer We Trust YouTube fam. After you hit like and subscribe, we got a big show for you today. We're talking Chris Richards embarking on his journey to the Premier League. Josie Altidore leaving MLS to go to Mexico. And we are thrilled, absolutely thrilled to welcome Orlando City head coach Óscar Pareja onto the show. So let's get after it. Yes. What is up, everybody? Welcome to Robin Fraser's favorite podcast in Soccer We Trust. I'm Jimmy Cream Cheese Conrad alongside Hollywood Heath Pierce and Charlie Chuck Wagon Davies. And today, not only are we going to talk about Chris Richards following Tyler Adams' lead by leaving the Bundesliga to go to the Premier League, and Mr. Josie Altidore leaving the New England Revolution to go to Puebla and Liga MX in his last gasp attempt to resuscitate his career and try to sneak on the U.S. men's national team roster for the 2022 World Cup because he can clearly see there's a void we're trying to fill in the number 9 spot. We're also going to be joined by a man, and we're really excited about it, who played professionally for 18 years before transitioning, into one of the most well-respected coaches in all of North America, Óscar Pareja, whose team Orlando City just put a 5-1 beatdown on the New York Red Bulls in the Open Cup semifinals to book their ticket to the Open Cup final, and a final they're hosting on September 7th against USL Championship side, the Sacramento Republic, which for me makes them the favorite to win it all. Not to put any pressure on them. They're at home. Of course they're going to be the favorite. But before I bring him on, Heath, I'm coming to you first. Why is Óscar Pareja such a great coach?
Because he was probably the one that informed the staff to trade me back in 2011 after my 2010 season. And the team did fine without me. So that's probably why he's a great coach. No, but what I like about him, and I can't wait to ask him, is that he transitioned from assistant coaching to working with young players to then being a first-team coach successfully. And I think there's a real struggle for a lot of managers to go from working with young players that are generally better listeners, and you're dealing with a different type of temperament than bigger egos. And his ability to transition into that world and also coming from that playing background, I think all of that put together is what makes him such a valuable coach. And that seems like there's some sort of theme in there that I can't wait to ask him about of what that is that's allowed him to transition to so many different levels and be successful.
Yeah, I love that. That's you have some insight, right? You've actually worked with him before. Charlie, what do you think from your perspective makes Óscar such a great coach?
He understands the game. I mean, I have vivid memories of his FC Dallas team. And with that team, he was able to bring in some incredible players and get them to play to their strengths and maximize their potential. You just felt like he had a great understanding of his team and the respect of his team. So for me, he's always been one of the best coaches because he has those relationships with the players. And it's more, yes, it's the man management side, but he also has the tactical understanding of how to make players better within the system.
Well said by both of you. So without further ado, it's time for the tale of the tape. Let's bring him on. Standing 5'8" tall, weighing 150 pounds, who started his career for Independiente Medellin before moving to Deportivo Cali, and then making his jump to MLS in 1998, most notably with the Dallas Burn, and I wish they still had that name. He also represented Colombia 11 times during their golden era, Valderrama and Esprilla, amongst many others, and played in the 1991 Copa America, where he scored 3 goals. What a beast. Now, after his career, he started coaching with FC Dallas as an assistant. He went with the U17s as well before getting the head coaching job in Colorado, then back to Dallas, then to Tijuana, Zolos, Cholos, and now with Orlando City. And my favorite part about him is that wherever he goes, the players love to play for him, and he always has a winning record. So let's give it up for the man that used to be called El Generalito. It's the Little General, Óscar Pareja! Óscar, what's up? Great to see you as always.
Oh, man. No, it's great. I mean, first, it's great to see you three. And the best part of this is that we're talking about soccer and all those things with people who knows what is this about. And it's great. It's great to see Heath again. And Charlie, I told you before, it looks like you can cross the ball again 1,000 times. And look at Jimmy, the energy never. It's great. So good. Thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure and honor for me.
Oscar, all Jimmy had was energy because he didn't have good feet. You know,
that's true. Also, I don't know if I believe that Charlie could cross the ball. Charlie couldn't cross the ball to save his life. I don't know where Oscar's coming from.
Oh, what are you talking about? Of course I could cross the ball. And
no, you can finish the ball, dude.
You were just funny on the pitch, right, Jimmy?
Yeah, all right. Here we go. Oscar, first question to me. I have you won the Open Cup with FC Dallas in 2016. So you have experience in winning this, and now your Orlando City is in the final that you're hosting, as I mentioned. And you also, with Orlando City, got to the MLS's back final, which was also in Orlando. How can you lean on those experiences to help your team win their first significant trophy?
Right. Yeah. It has been first great to take Orlando to a different stage, or at least just make the club be seen by people again as a really competitive on the tournaments. Being in the playoffs, it has been great for the community, for the fans. Playing that MLS back trophy as well, despite of the challenges that we all have with all this pandemic thing. But now having the opportunity to give them the first final here in their stadium, in front of their people, in the oldest competition that we have here, is an honor for me. I've been blessed to be here. Were tremendous in special years in Dallas, and also my experience in Mexico. But these 2 years and a half in Orlando has been blessed for me. I've been very, very content and very happy here.
Oscar, now you've spent time at the youth level. You're widely regarded or credited for the building of the FC Dallas Academy that's now got this pipeline that seems like it's going to be never ending. What is the biggest difference, for anybody that's getting into the coaching space of coaching youth players or developing youth players, and then what you're doing in terms of ego management, man management at the first team level?
Right. Certainly here is there are differences there. Obviously the ages and the emotions, the interest, the illusion of the place is what it may come to my mind immediately. Just to see a 16 or 15 years old player that have that ambition and desire to become a player, and whatever you say to him is true, versus a player who has played a World Cup, who has hundreds of games, competitive games, and you still have to convince this player to do things in your way. There is a big gap there. There is a big difference. But I think you can fulfill that gap on all the time being transparent with them. I think you gain the respect of the players just with that transparency. Obviously, be prepared. But the most important, and I know you all feel this, is show them that you have been in their shoes, that you have been in the pitch, that you have got through that trouble, that you have, or you got that problem, that you solved it, that you had been in the stress, that you have suffered an injury, that you have missed a PK, that you have enjoyed a victory. All these things probably make them trust you more than anything else. Beside that, here is football, right? It's trying to do our job the best we can.
When you took over your role at Orlando City, the club was going in the wrong direction. They weren't competitive. There were a lot of players who weren't sure what their future held. They weren't sure what direction the club was going to go into. You came in and all of a sudden transformed them into being super competitive. Like you said, you get in the playoffs, you get to the MLS's back tournament final. There's a real vibe around the club now. What are you most proud of in terms of the day you walked in to up until now?
Charlie, maybe that get that competitive spirit alive. Hey, we can be protagonists of the tournament, not just being there, not participating, but being really protagonists of any tournament that we played at. That means a lot of work. Means obviously make an effort on trying to be sharp and out scouting, trying to gel together a good group of players. But most important, just make the people around believe that we can do those guys that have won before. Um, it has been the passion of the people because I found here a very passionate fans. That's something that caught my eye in the first time, and not even the first time I was here, but when I came to Orlando to compete with Dallas, it was incredible. I felt that passion here, the diversity of the people, and all those things just made me think that it could be real, that we can do things here. There is a long journey still in front of us. We still have to be consistent in our performance. It would be great to have a team that can dominate the competitions the way we want it, the way we all want it to. But so far, just making the club and the teams be seen by the rest is very good. And that I have the honor to be part of.
Well, Oscar, let's give some context, everybody, about where Orlando sits this season, currently 5th in the Eastern Conference. I think the thing that jumps out for me the most is that you've only scored 26 goals in your 22 games throughout the regular season. Now, if we go to the Open Cup, you've won all 5. You beat the Tampa Bay Rowdies first, then you beat the Philadelphia Union, very good side. Had to go to penalties to beat Inter Miami, penalties again to beat Nashville, and then finally put the beat down on the New York Red Bulls. Don't you know that they have families? They have to go home and answer to their families when you embarrass them like this, Oscar. But you went down 1-0, scored 5 unanswered goals. It felt watching the game, it felt very cathartic that you just finally had that big moment. And now you're 90 minutes away from being Open Cup champions. But also, how do you think that performance against the Red Bulls helps you maybe address what's happening in the regular season, that you do have the players that can go out there and score multiple goals in a game and really, as you said before, be the protagonists in how we want to play and no matter who the opponent is. And I know you have DC United this weekend.
Right. The thing with Red Bull goes beyond that too, Jimmy, since they have upset us too. And the prior games is a tremendous team and tremendous coach they have. Has been difficult for us to face them, and that probably magnified the victory that we had against them in this one game that means a lot for us, and for them, just going to the final. But regarding the league, I think we had not been consistent. I think we have not been sharp either on our production offensively. Those numbers that you dictate there are a concern from us. This one presentation or this one performance against New York surely should ignite us to do much more. That was better, but we feel and obviously my responsibility to get that connections at front, which is not easy. We let Nani go, we let Chris Mueller go, and Dike también. Dike went to England, and then we brought new players. It has been a challenge to have that cohesiveness, those connections. I know that connection is there. We have to find a way to plug it in right. We show them against New York that we can do it, but we're very conscious about knowing that we haven't been the team that we should in the league yet.
Oscar, you've obviously won a Supporter Shield as a coach. You've won an Open Cup. How do you, with your players, you have players from all over the world, different backgrounds, some coming from single table system, some coming from playoff system. How do you define success within your group with and this I think it's a general question I have for a lot of managers is how do you define success for players? Is it to make the playoffs? Is it only about trophies? You're now 90 minutes away. Is that a failure to fall short? I mean, how do you define success when there's so many different things in the Major League Soccer system that are different than other parts of the world?
All right, good question, Head, because I think we all tied to relate success with results. It's difficult to think about not making playoffs and describe your season as a very successful one. Uh, you have to get results in soccer and sports and the competition, especially we're professionals. We are in a first division where people demanding, the fans demanding, we all want to win. So somehow you feel the responsibility to get results, but that needs to be tied to other things. Um, the other things for me that are relevant on how you can measure your staying in a club as a coach is how much you live there in terms to development players is that creation of the culture in the club that we're assigned to do. When we're the head coaches, I think we have that responsibility to identify what is that cultural part of the team that we can base on and then make it grow into. And in Dallas, we create something that it was never done before. We let an academy establish a production of players that were homegrown and born in the city and develop as a soccer players, and then they had the attitude and the talent to go overseas and perform and go to the national team. Those things make you feel like you have a successful seasons on the places that you were. Here in Orlando, uh, probably the something that we don't talk too much, but that I'm very proud of is that we won in the first year our U17 championship in USA. For me, that was phenomenal because we didn't even have an established academy, and we end up this year winning it. Uh, those things make me feel proud. And then at the end, this one will look or will sound very romantic, but uh, through the years, and I'm already 54, when I found players that remember our times with joy, players that have already kids and they have good stories, and they never would say that we did not work correctly in terms to the effort and the responsibility. The players that think that we were transparent with them, for me, that's the major trophy. Is the one that probably brings less money, but is the one that I like the most.
Yeah, I mean, you also have to love the fact that you can develop a player like Daryl Dike from college and get him to now be a striker playing overseas in England. I mean, that doesn't happen often in Major League Soccer where players are developed in the right way. So when I look at your team currently, you just signed Nico Gioacchini, a player who has had some U.S. men's national team caps and has a lot of potential that you will need to fulfill. Where do you see him on the pitch positionally, and what's his upside in the short term that you've gotten to work with him? And then at the same time, you know, you have Pato. Has he been playing in positions that you have always seen, or has he had to adjust considering the options that you have?
Right, Charlie. The Nico situation is great for us. He's an American player. He can come and bring new things for us. Is a young player, tremendous person, and I can see in his eyes that illusion to develop here in America and in his country, uh, be seen by the national team. Because I think he has the talent to do it. Has been a short period so far um, on working with Nico, but I can see his aggressiveness going forward. Something that we need. I think the versatility, Charlie, that he has, he would help us because he can play it as a right wing, but more internal. I think he knows how to play it in between the lines. I can see him being a forward, which is, or we make this situation of playing him in as an interior winger who can end up in the box and give you another presence there with the mentality of a striker. He can play in the left because he's mobile. I can see him more in the right or even as a number nine that can come and connect, but also have those diagonals in front and or in the box and be in front of the goal. So I bet for a versatile player who can make a good contribution to us. And again, it's a young player, Charlie, that has all the future in front of him.
We're
And
speaking with Oscar Pareja. Sorry to interrupt you, Oscar. I just wanted to give everybody a note that you're the head coach of Orlando City, and you just booked a ticket to go to the Open Cup final after a big 5-1 win over the New York Red Bulls. Sorry to interrupt. I was so excited to ask the question that I had to jump in there. But what we do here, Oscar, is tradition with all of our guests. You had a distinguished playing career, and as I mentioned, you represented Colombia 11 times, scoring 3 goals. 3 goals in 11 games, not too shabby. I don't know why they didn't call you a little bit more.
We all share that. We played.
That's true. We all played the Copa America
against Colombia.
We did play against Colombia. I didn't actually. I had a great seat for that one. I didn't actually get to play, but
I got absolutely crushed in that game.
So
Jimmy, I know you're going to ask. No, wait, Jimmy. Before you ask that, because I know we're going to let him go after this. I have one more question. Can I just ask him this real question?
Okay,
real quick?
fine. Go ahead.
Okay, Oscar, real quick. What team do you think was better? FC Dallas 2016 or FC Dallas 2010?
FC Dallas 2010. I think.
Oh yeah, there we go.
In 2015,
is that Kenny Cooper? Was that Kenny Cooper?
No, that was we lost MLS Cup. It was yours truly. We had the better of the Ferreiras, I think. Jesus' dad, David Ferreira. We had a really good team. Ended up losing in the MLS Cup final, but we set 4 or 5 records. A few of those are still sitting today, and that was the first time we started moving some young players. We had like Brian Leyva. We had I can't remember who else, but you were starting to move some of these players into the first team. But yeah, I just needed some confirmation, because I get in a lot of fights on Twitter with fans that say, you're the years that you were head coaching and not with the academy were the better teams.
No, yours was a very special. It's still just taking the club to the final and all those things. So ours is because we have a tremendous year on this winning the Supporter Shield, the Open Cup, and we were one injury far from winning it, because I think the injury of Mauro has hurt us at the end. But I can, and obviously I was more involved in that one too.
Okay, that's fair.
Okay. So Oscar, what we like to do before Heath rudely interrupted so he could flex on us, Charlie, about how great his team used to be. I got 2 questions. One is, who is your favorite teammate with Colombia? Because you played with Valderrama, Freddy Rincon, Rene Higuita. Like, those are some crazy, obviously amazingly talented players, but also personalities. And then, did you ever have a jersey swap where you switched jerseys with somebody that was like your favorite player, or you got like a really big name like a Platini or a Diego Maradona or any of those types of players?
Well, the first one in the national team, I have the fortune to roommate with Carlos Valderrama, and not just in the national team, but in Deportivo Cali that we played a year together. And then Independiente Medellin as well, we played a year. And all those times I had the opportunity to roommate with him. So the experiences that he brings to you in terms to his professionalism and the way he see the game and his behavior and all those things were incredible.
Can I say really quick that when I came into the league in 1999, I played against Carlos Valderrama. He was still Tampa Bay or Colorado at that time, and he was the best smelling player I've ever played against in my whole career. He wore so much cologne. I was like, is that what you're supposed to do when you're a world-class player, is wear that much cologne? I just couldn't understand it.
You can imagine his room. In his room, you can see, I'm not exaggerating, but you can see 8 or 10 different colognes. And we were going nowhere. We're just going to the field to train, but it is very popular in the Colombian the Colombian players that we have our clans 1, 2. But when you go to the national team, this is an expression of who can have more. Carlos have like 10.
That's amazing.
It's true. It's true. It's true. And well, I have one I have one jersey that I remember. Did you remember Jorkaeff?
Oh yes,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah.
Player.
That one who used to play. That one amazing player. I remember him. I traded a jersey with him. And another one that I have in a special place is that Risto Stoichkov when he
Oh,
Oh
played.
wow. These
Fantastic.
are these are
These are big
flexes.
names. These are big
Yeah,
names.
these are big ones.
With Risto because he came from that World Cup and then he came to our league and he was leading that Chicago with that personality, and then we established a good relationship off the field with a guy that I did not even imagine how humble and how real and like us, it was one of us. That's what I
Yeah,
thought.
yeah.
I said, Chris, I thought that you were from other planet, and then he was one of us. It was so I remember that one with
Hey,
a lot of love.
You know what's funny is you talk about Valderrama smelling so good. I remember the first time I saw Stoichkov when he came. He was in Chicago. It was a preseason, and it was in Bradenton, and he was wearing the sleeveless, and he had his shorts rolled all the way up like a diaper, and his body was covered in tanning oil. And I'm not talking about like sunblock. I'm talking about you could see your reflection off of his skin. He was out there casual and tanning. He was at training to get tan. Like I've never seen so much like baby oil on somebody as I saw it the first time I saw him in person.
I can see that from Bristol. I can see it. Right.
I'm still waiting for you to sign some big Colombians.
That Chicago team was incredible. Peter Nowak and was amazing.
Yeah.
Right? Those times.
Oscar, I'm still waiting for you to sign a big Colombian. When are you getting?
When's Duvan Zapata showing up?
Yeah. When is this coming to Orlando?
I know. You know that I receive a lot of messages from Colombians saying, "Oscar, you don't like Colombians or what?" And I had a good relation with James, with Falcao. Falcao wanted so bad to come to Orlando too, but we couldn't do it. And then there's a couple ones that are big names right now that they ask me, Oscar, but you know that the challenges in the Caps are not as easy as they think,
Yeah.
But no, we had good ones too. Fabian Castillo, I thought he had a great performance.
He was
right.
Good.
Barrios as well, he did good. Now we have Andres here, a young player that has been a national USA already. So yeah, but you're right. Yeah, it's about
Juan Cuadrado will be fine next when you make that signing. No, that'll be
That'd
okay.
be a nice one. Oscar, thank you so much for your time. Oscar Pareja, head coach of Orlando City. Good luck against DC United this weekend. I don't know if you need luck against DC United.
I'll see you next week.
Good. And good luck September 7th in the U.S. Open Cup final against the Sac Republic. Let's give it up for Oscar Pareja. We appreciate you. Best of luck to your team.
Charlie.
Oscar Pareja just got cut off.
Charlie was going to give you. He's got.
You know what? I don't have any time for more Charlie love from Oscar.
Alex just cut him out real quick.
No. All right, everybody, we're going to take our first and only break of In Soccer We Trust. When we come back, we're going to talk about some transfer news for some key players for the U.S. men's national team. Don't go anywhere.
You ready?
They're coming. Hang on.
Showtime.
I won't sleep until he's in the ground.
Go, 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 go!
What are you waiting for?
I'm jumping out a window! Oh, sorry. Good luck.
Welcome back to In Soccer We Trust. I'm Jimmy Conrad alongside Hollywood Heath Pierce and Charlie Chuckwagon Davies. And that was awesome. I want to give it up again to Oscar Pareja, the head coach of Orlando City, for spending some time with us today. And guys, I really enjoyed his stories. I feel like we should have got there first. I mean, just hearing about Valderrama and Stoichkov and Jorkaeff and all these little things. But obviously, we want to talk about the
Well,
club.
he's actually going to do
doing.
more at the end until you cut him off.
Yeah.
You know what?
Jimmy
He was
only cut
giving
him
you
off
so
4
much
times
love.
today.
Yeah.
Oh no, I was
Hey
just
guys,
trying to.
actually, no, we're talking
wasn't-
to Oscar Pareja of Orlando City, and he was like,
Yeah,
Oh.
I know. I thought he gave a dramatic pause, and I
He
thought
did.
was
He
done
did give a
talking.
dramatic pause, Jimmy. I'll give you that. I'll give you
listen.
that.
I'll apologize to him right now publicly. I didn't mean to cut you off like that. Also, I got to let everybody know we're a nominee for the best sports podcast category in the People's Choice Podcast Awards. Vote for In Soccer We Trust at podcastawards.com/app/sign up, and then toggle down to the best podcast because we know we are your favorites, and that would be awesome. We want to win another trophy and have one in our cabinet. We win enough trophies in our career. All right, boys, we have some transfer news to get into.
let's do it.
We have Matthew Hoppe potentially going to Middlesbrough. We have Josie Altidore going to Puebla in Liga MX, which is interesting because I think that's where Herculez Gomez went and did well and then made the 2010 World Cup team. And then that's where DeMarcus Beasley went to kind of get his career revitalized, and he made the World Cup team in 2014. And now maybe it's Josie's turn. I see what he's trying to do here, and I respect that that's where he's going. And they got a young coach that's got some good ideas that I think hopefully can get the best out of Josie as he makes that last-ditch effort to get on and sneak on to the World Cup roster in 2022. And then we got Chris Richards, been confirmed going to Crystal Palace. Charlie, I'll come to you first. I don't know which one of the three you want to start with, but we'll obviously talk about all of them.
Let's start with Josie Altidore.
Let's get into it.
Tell us what you
This
know.
is this is his last opportunity, right? He needed to make this move because he was not going to get playing time with the Revolution. The playing time that you would expect if you were to make a move from Toronto to try and get on the U.S. national team. The New England Revolution, which I wish we got another opportunity to ask Oscar, what would he think this move would do for Josie Altidore, having coached in Liga MX, and what could people expect? But they have Gustavo Bo, and they just signed Giacomo Vrioni. So you have two DP strikers. Josie was not going to play unless there was an injury. And then the times that Josie did play, he didn't inspire. He didn't inspire, Bruce Arena to say, actually, I don't need to sign a striker, and he's scoring goals and making runs. So there's two sides of the coin. One, you as a player, you're not getting the proper chances. I'm desperate to move because I need to play, and I got to give myself one last opportunity. So in the league, probably wasn't going to happen. Out of the league, Liga MX, perfect opportunity for him to go and tear the league up. And if he is moving, if he does score, then he's going to be back in the picture. On the flip side, you look at what Bruce Arena did, and it's like, all right, maybe I can make a move to address some needs within the team if Josie takes a loan out for the rest of the year.
Okay, so the last time he represented the U.S. Heath was in 2019, the Gold Cup. He had one goal in that competition. He actually had a really good chance against Mexico in the final, and he has not been called in since. That's the last time he has been a part of the team. But that was time with Greg Berhalter, and we discuss, it's harder to create opportunities, and he did find himself in good spots. When we had Hector Moreno on, Mexican international, he said the hardest player for him to play against from the U.S. was Josie Altidore. He's only 32 years old. So do you think he does have an outside chance? I know we talked about it on yesterday's podcast. How many goals do you think he'd have to score in the next 5 months for him to actually be considered for it? But if he comes in and he's looking fresh and he's being the force that we know that he can be, and he's playing better than the other people he'd be competing against at the number 9 spot, I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility that he could be called in by Greg.
Yeah, it's an interesting time because he definitely has age on his side, though he's got a lot of miles, I'm sure, on his body. So he's not old for the internet. He's older than this team is. But when I think about Josie, I think about this being an opportunity. And I'm not Josie. My career was completely different. But when I didn't get a chance to ask Oscar this either, why they offered me such a crap deal when they took my rights in the expansion draft.
Still really holding on to this, huh? Like,
I ended up going to Gothenburg. I ended up going to Gothenburg. Yeah. And I basically looked at it as a final chance for me personally, right? I had a hip surgery. I had a leg break. I had all these things that I was like, my body just wasn't settling in. I was like, this is my last run. And it wasn't about whether or not I could play another 5-6 years. I knew I could do that. There's plenty of clubs and plenty of teams to make a good living playing soccer. For me was, could I get to the international level again? Like, and it wasn't about whether whether Jurgen called me in or not. It was about getting to that level where you're playing naturally, you're playing at a speed, you're playing at an intensity that is required to play at the national team level. And I think this move for Josie is a chance for him to be hungry. And Josie hasn't had to be hungry since he got to Toronto. He was successful in Toronto, but he didn't have to be hungry in Toronto. And then he gets to New England, and you've got sort of that mix of like establishment with Bruce, and you're coming into a team, and you're a legend in North America, and still didn't necessarily have to be hungry. Now Josie's way outside of that, right? Nobody cares about Josie at Puebla. And that's a great opportunity to try to channel or harness or dig deeper into something that perhaps he hasn't had to or thought he was doing in his other environments. And I really like the chance of it there. It's not so much to me about goals. If you're Greg Berhalter, you're watching every game Josie plays, right? Just to see, can he flip that switch back on? Because the Josie that we know now isn't, does he have that fire? Is he hungry? Is there a speed and intensity to his game that he's tapping back into that will dictate that? Yeah, he does need to score goals as well to be able to get back into the national team. But there's something about Josie that if he can get to that automatically puts him back in, just because of the desperation I think we have at the number 9 spot.
I would say the hold-up play too is super important, and resident number 9 Charlie Davies can follow up on this, because when we look back at the 2018 World Cup, Olivier Giroud didn't score for France, but he was pivotal in helping of course. Well, that makes a big difference. You got Dembele on the other side and Griezmann and all these other guys, of course, world-class players. But there's something about that hold-up play that allows those guys to get the ball 15, 20 yards higher up the field, so they don't get tackled, they don't get slowed down in the middle block. They actually get the ball, and it looks like with some space to run at players in the attacking third, which defenders have to defend different when you're in and around the box. And so you have to make your choices and risk in determining whether you want to make that tackle, try to run with them. And obviously that's going to play for an Mbappe and Dembele in a positive way. But it's not to say that our guys can't. Timo Weah would definitely benefit from picking the ball up higher. Pulisic, Reyna, Aronson, whoever it is. So that hold-up play is going to be really important. Another thing, too, he's also excellent at kind of running off the shoulder. If he gets an edge on you as a center back, you're not getting it. The dude's a brick house. You know, he's so strong. He can hold off the ball, and that's why Hector Moreno said what he said, because once he gets you in that space and can roll you, you're in trouble. So it's just a matter of where he picks up the ball and the decisions he makes once he gets it, how he brings other players into the play. So, yes, goals are important, of course. They're going to be the end product of what he's doing. But I think there's all these little things that can help our national team.
He's got to be able to run too. He's got to be able to
run. That's true.
run.
Yeah, I mean, you got to run the channels.
Team wants to be able to press. I don't think they've been great at press. I'm talking about even defensively. Like, you got to be willing to be that first man in a press. Like, make that game.
Is he fit enough, Charlie? You saw it with the Revolution. I don't know.
Yeah,
if Josie's fit
enough. I would say with the Revs, he checks too much to the ball, and he also comes out to the wide areas. And if you're playing as a lone striker, you better be in the box and just stay in the box, stay central. And if you're going to make runs into the channel to stretch the field. Don't bring more defenders into the middle of the field, especially against this U.S. side. They need space. Right. So with Christian Pulisic, with Gio Reyna and Timo Weah and Brendan Aronson and Yunus Musa, that 9 needs to be able to create space, but also to be able to hold up the ball. So both of those qualities he can do. We've seen him hold it up. But as of late, he hasn't made those runs in behind. He hasn't. When you talk about how many sprints are you making per 45, per 90, those numbers have not been great for Josie. And yes,
do you think that's irreparable though? Like, do you think that's a mentality thing? Because we all know, like, as we get older,
I think it's more of a mentality thing
than you want in the space. Yeah. And sometimes it's physical, and sometimes it's just sort of being like, I'm not going to make that run because I'm not going to get the ball.
I did that for 10 years. Why do I have to do that anymore?
I think it's one of those things where once the focus is about your runs in behind, and that's what they're asking you to do, and your success is based off of that, then that makes you switch. You might have gotten out of that because you're bigger in size, you like to hold up players, you like to play, tiki-taka because you have good feet. But ultimately, no, you got it. You're the 9. Get back to doing what you did as a young number 9 for the U.S. men's national team, which is just making runs. And I always talk about the fire. You know it when you watch a player, when they are not going to lose no matter what, because it is evident that they're emptying the tank. They're doing everything in their power to work for the team. When's the last time that you've seen that from Josie? Like the young Josie when he was just all over the place and running, and you could feel that force, to now it's kind of, I run here and there, but it's not continuous. You're not seeing it at all, throughout every minute of the match when he's on the field. So I know this is desperation time. This is the moment. Do you really want it? Because if you do, it'll show. And if it shows, you're going to have success in Liga MX, and that's without a doubt.
Do you think, and this, Heath, I'll throw it to you and anybody else listening, follow us on Twitter, iswt pod. If you're listening and not watching live on YouTube, throw it in the comments if you are on YouTube. Do you think the experience factor potentially plays into what Josie can provide to the team, because he played in the 2010 and 2014 World Cup, even though he got hurt against Ghana in that first game? Do you think that because our team is going to be so young, we're looking to be the youngest team on average at this upcoming World Cup? We only have DeAndre Yedlin. He's still a bit on the bubble at the right back spot. Do you think there is some room to have that experience? And would he accept that role to be kind of he's not going to be, he might be the guy. I don't know if he blows up, but if he's not, would he accept that role of kind of being a good cheerleader and getting the most out of the guys around him?
I mean, I don't know if Josie's
Charlie, you can jump in afterwards.
or attitude is the right leader you want in the team. I'm not saying it's a bad attitude, but if you were talking about pick somebody in their late 20s to early 30s that has the experience of World Cups, that has done it before, that can automatically step in into a situation. I think about Chiellini's interviews since he's gotten to LAFC of just like this natural instinct to lead and just make it not about you and make it about others. There's some natural abilities in that. And I don't know if Josie's in that point in his career to really transition his mindset into being that teacher, that leader, that mentor that sets the tone of like when you show up, how you train every day. Maybe I could be wrong. I haven't been around Josie in a long time. Charlie's around him quite a bit. And so would love his take on it, but that's not what I would bring him for.
No, I would say regardless of how Josie is as a leader, Greg Berhalter has made it known World Cup experience means nothing with this group. This is a group that's learning as they go. Mm-hmm. I mean, that was evident when you look at the roster selection every World Cup qualifying match. And basically, since he's taken over, he said, we're going in this direction. We're going with youth. Where the plan is, yes, we got to qualify for this World Cup, but ultimately we're looking at 2026. So experience to him is overrated. So that it literally means nothing. It depends on how you deliver. What is your production with this team? On top of, you got to be a good teammate if you're not playing. If you got to be happy with my decisions, and if you're not playing and you're coming along for the ride, what value do you add to the team? So for Josie, I think it's pretty simple. You got to produce, you got to score, and you got to work if you want to make that team. But the opportunity is there. It's not that if he goes to Mexico and he scores 15 goals, he's not going to get on that plane. He'll get on that plane if he wants to get on that plane. And the only way he's going to get on that plane is if he scores and works.
That's seems like something he hasn't shown, at least with the New England Revolution so far. So we'll see if he can get that ignited here with Puebla. We'll obviously have eyes on that. Another striker, though, for us, or a winger / striker, Matthew Hoppe, is also looking to make a move to kind of resuscitate his hopes of getting on this U.S. men's national team World Cup roster. Now, the 21-year-old 2 seasons ago kind of blew up out of nowhere for Schalke. He scored 5 goals in his first 7 appearances and then went on to have 6 strikes in total over the 22 games in that season. Schalke gets relegated. He moves to Mallorca to play for Steve Nash and Stu Holden's team over in La Liga. And everybody thought, all right, he had an assist early. I think that was his only goal contribution that whole season. He only appeared 7 times, had that 1 assist, never, ever scored. And now he's looking to make a move to the championship with Middlesbrough. Heath, I'll come to you on this. Now, Middlesbrough were finished in 7th in the championship, just 1 spot shy of the top 6 to get into the playoffs, to potentially get promoted into the Premier League. They were the lowest scoring of the top 7 teams. They were the lowest scoring of that. So Matthew Hoppe could come into a team that could use what he brings to the table. We've obviously seen him at the Gold Cup. He's got a little swagger to him, a little of that Clint Dempsey attitude, like just give me the ball and I'll figure it out kind of stuff. And I think we all were drawn to that a little bit, but it hasn't really translated to him doing anything with his club. Maybe that attitude works against him with certain coaches. We've seen him talk back to Greg Berhalter before during a game when he got subbed out. That's in the heat of the moment. And Greg, I think, handled it professionally and moved on from that. But we haven't really seen him with the national team since that incident, not really in a meaningful way. What do you make of Matthew Hoppe, and do you think he has any chance at this point?
Yeah, I mean, he was injured for like half of last season, so it wasn't necessarily just performance-based. But when he did get his chances, not a lot came of it. We obviously got excited. I think he scored against Real Madrid or something like that last year, and we got our hopes up. But he's one that I worry about. I do like Middlesbrough just because when I think about players in our national team pool that would do well in the championship, him and Daryl Dike are probably the two that come to mind that can thrive in chaotic moments, that can use athleticism and size and speed to be impactful, because he's not a super polished product yet. He's good at stretching the field, running, and in the championship, you get opportunities like that, and that can play to your advantages. What I worry about for him is that he's got like 25 professional games, right? When he was 19 and he came on the scene at Schalke, he came out of Schalke's second team. Great, you're 19, but now you're 21, and now you've missed basically a year and change of development as a player, of getting crucial minutes. Now, we still don't know what kind of player he is. He's got what, 5, 6, 7, I don't know, under 10 caps with the national team.
6 caps.
We see a lot of potential in him. You see a lot of that urgency to go forward, run at players. I like that he faces up and goes at players. I like that confidence. But he's also, again, where this window gets shorter and shorter from being a young teenager to now being like, well, now you got to play. And so you go here and you don't play, then we're going to start writing him off in a lot of ways, because these are crucial moments of development that maybe, again, Middlesbrough may be the right club. Maybe there's an instant need and he's going to play right away, which if he does, perfect. I think the league and the team is the right size for him. But I also think perhaps is there another move out there for him where he can get minutes that's not La Liga, that might be Belgium, or it might be Holland, or it might be somewhere else where he can have a little bit better of a chance. You still got to perform regardless of where you go, but to get real professional minutes and repetition to develop him as a player, versus being this peaking hype that lasted 2 months and we all hyped him, and then now we've lost a year of time that could continue on if he doesn't play at Middlesbrough.
Well, if he does end up going to Borough, Zach Steffen is there. So at least he'll have a national team teammate to ease the transition, as it were. I don't think you would struggle with that, but it's always nice to see a friendly face in the changing room. Now, what are your thoughts on Matthew Hoppe, Charlie Davies? I'm leaning towards, I don't think unless he goes to that team and blows up, very similar to what we're saying about Josie or any of our number 9s, who's going to blow up and step up, then I don't really see him having much of a chance. It feels like he's just too far off the radar at this point.
Well, I think that's the best part about the 9 for the US right now. Anybody has a chance, because Jesus Ferreira is still balling. He's still doing his thing, which you love to see. So he is the number 1 striker at the moment, and no one's even close. Ricardo Pepi's going to be in the picture. He'll be in the squad. Whether he's going to be playing or not, I think that remains to be seen, depending on how well his form is and the start to his year in the Bundesliga. But I think outside of those two, it is completely wide open. It is open, and whoever is in form will get called into camp for the World Cup camp. And then to make the 26, I mean, you're probably going to add an extra 2 strikers or so just because you can. And because the production hasn't been stellar on the international level, you have to have options. So I think that plays right into the US's hands in terms of, and everywhere else you feel pretty good, maybe outside of center back, but you'll have a number of options come the 9. You got to wait and see who gets hot.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting, and obviously a drama that we're going to be following quite closely. Now let's talk about Chris Richards, who, like I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, followed Tyler Adams' lead by leaving the Bundesliga to go to Crystal Palace in the Premier League, which that's not where Tyler Adams went when he went to Leeds. I didn't set that up right. But he still made a jump from the Bundesliga to the Premier League. And now I'm seeing articles that are saying he might start, Chris Richards. He might start the first game of the season, Heath, against your Arsenal. That would be pretty incredible for Patrick Vieira to give him that type of trust so close, because the season starts, that first game against Arsenal is August 6th. We're almost there.
Yeah, I mean, got to test him. What I do like about his move is that it's a 5-year deal, from what I understand. And that's a commitment to a player, right? It's not 2 years, hope for the best type of thing, which means Chris Richards is putting his career potentially above the national team at the moment, his career trajectory, knowing that if it plays out the way he wants, he's going to go to 2022. But he's also now got this place he's going to call home for the foreseeable future, where he can focus on his development. And maybe it is 26 where he really blossoms. Maybe he doesn't get the run initially, but he's, like you said, Jimmy, he's putting himself to a test. He's now in a situation where he's competing with 2 other national team level center backs and could be starting. And that's what we want to see that play out. But I do like the term length of his contract and what that means. It's a trust in the player from Palace, but it's also an opportunity for him to settle in somewhere for the first step of his professional career, right? Because he was a lone player out of Bayern Munich, was never really going to fit into Bayern Munich's team, at least at the trajectory he was on, or the pace that he was developing. And now it's an opportunity to say, okay, this is home. This is the future. I've got to establish myself. And the fact that he's being considered means that it's a serious signing for Crystal Palace, and not just like a moonshot or a hope for a best situation.
Charlie, I'm going to be honest with you and everybody else, and Heath and everybody listening. I'm a little nervous. Arsenal's looked pretty good this preseason. Gabriel Jesus has been on fire. I don't know if I want to see him play against Arsenal at first game of the season. Let's ease him into it, baby. He's got a 5-year deal, but do you think it's worth the risk? Do you think he made the right decision by jumping to the Premier League and having to compete for his spot? I mean, I like all of the reasons why you would do it in general, but you take a risk ahead of a World Cup knowing if I don't get those minutes, I might not be the guy come World Cup time.
If you have those thoughts, then you, in my opinion, you shouldn't be on the U.S. men's national team.
That's fair.
You have to believe in yourself, and you put yourself in the best position to be the best version of yourself. He's doing that with Patrick Vieira. So it's not just I'm going to the Premier League to go to the Premier League. I'm going to a club that values me, where I see my development continuing under an incredible manager in Patrick Vieira. It's a no-brainer. So I'm glad that he took that opportunity and he's ready to embrace the challenge, because you have to, and you have to bet on yourself instead of saying, oh, let me go to the championship, or let me go to a lower league and where I can just, bet on myself for 2 years and then try and make a move. I love this. So well done, Chris Richards.
I'm excited to see how he performs and how he transitions into.
You're obviously
team,
not, Jimmy. You're obviously not excited.
No.
You obviously don't like Chris Richards.
That's not true. That's not true. I just wanted to play devil's advocate, because I think there's an argument to be made to find a situation where you're going to get a whole bunch of minutes and you're going to be maybe a little bit sharper leading into a World Cup.
It is hard, man.
It is hard.
It's hard. What from a wage standpoint, and again, the 3 of us have all been through it. You got 20 clubs that you're hearing about from your agent. 5 of them might be legitimate. 1 of them might actually happen. Maybe 1 happens, right? If you're a goal scorer, it's a lot better chances. Charlie had options, but like when you're a center back, you're a little bit unproven. Somebody's buying you on potential. Like you're just looking for anybody to give you a chance that's at a level that you think you can compete at, mixed with like the package that you want, the contract length that you want. Like it's hard to bring all that together versus thinking that like Chris Richards just gets to look at some sort of menu and like pick like, oh, this is where I want to go. It's just, there's so many good players in Europe, and there's so many good teams that and budgets and all those things that it's a really complicated process. That to land in something like this where he's got a chance to play, I think is a pretty good landing spot compared to what it used to be 10 years ago, where if you didn't play in the Premier League, you were just like, maybe you go back to MLS, or like there was no respect for an American player if you didn't play somewhere. It was hard to land somewhere else.
No, I do like the move overall. I think that when you think about the Premier League, and when I think about Crystal Palace, who finished 10th last season, they're at the upside of Crystal Palace. They're young, they're vibrant, they have one of the best academies in all of England, and it just might be a great fit for him. The fact that they signed a 5-year deal, to what you'd said before, gives him some time to develop, that they can be patient with him. It's not like he has to play well. I think if you get signed at 28, 29, they insert you into the team, and you got to show up and perform right away. But because he's got a little youth, doesn't have as much experience, I think that bodes well. And I think he'll be surrounded by players that are kind of in the same point in their lives. All of us have been in situations where when I first started in MLS, I had a bunch of old guys around me, and I didn't necessarily fit in with them, and I never felt maybe accepted in that same way. But then once the older guys moved on and we had some younger guys in, it just felt like the collective energy was better as to we're all in this together, and it didn't necessarily feel that way at that particular time. We can dive into that at another point. We've had a great week here at Soccer We Trust. I'm going to give some final thoughts. Charlie, you're going to go first. Any final thoughts for this whole week? A shout out to Oscar Pareja, again, Orlando City coach, from coming on after his big win in the Open Cup semifinals to book their ticket to the final. That's happening on September 7th against the Sacramento Republic. Make sure you make some time for that. Final thoughts, starting with you, Charlie.
My final thought is Oscar Pareja is a legend. Love the Valderrama Cologne stories and just what he's trying to build in Orlando. And let's get going. I'm excited for this weekend. The Revs taking on Toronto FC. So Bernardeschi and Insigne, Michael Bradley. It looks like he's reimagined him.
He wants to get called back in. Michael Bradley put the numbers up. He want to get called back in.
Yeah. That's all I got.
All right, Heath, final thoughts.
I just want to give a shout out to all of our viewers and listeners. You know, we appreciate all of you. This community continues to grow, and it makes these conversations fun. And I also want them to all throw into the comments wherever you get these that Charlie should get to do the intro and the outro of things, because I know he's chomping at the bit to take that job from Jimmy, and I just want Charlie to have a trial one time to just throw the "What's up, guys?"
What is up, everyone?
It's Jimmy Cream Cheese Conrad, Chuck Wagon. Okay.
No, let's create a vote, Jimmy, so people can do it. So let's vote Charlie in.
Any votes. It's my job. You know what? It's also my job to end the show. Thank you for watching In Soccer We Trust. Thank you for listening as well. We appreciate your support. I'm going to echo the sentiments of Hollywood Heath Pierce. So on behalf of producer Des, producer Alex, Charlie, Chuck Wagon, Davies, Hollywood Heath Pierce, I'm Jimmy Cream Cheese Conrad saying thank you for watching. 3 amazing shows this week, and we got 3 more for you coming next week. So we'll see you then. Later.